Hey guys, welcome back to Friends and Enemas. I'm here at Betsy Grunch's house, or you might know her as Lady Spine Doc. You want to say
Hi.
hi? So I'm really excited that you're letting me do this at your house for one. If you guys haven't seen videos of her house, you're missing out because it's beautiful
Oh,
here.
thank you.
But I wanted to. Obviously, we're going to tell people a little bit about you, what you do if they don't know who you are, which would be a little crazy. But if they don't know who you are, we'll tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do. But then I want to dive into what made you you,
Okay.
what's happened in your life that's kind of formed who Betsy Grunch is.
Perfect. I
So do you
love
want to
it.
give us like an intro?
Sure. So I'm Betsy Grunch. I'm a board certified neurosurgeon. I practice outside of Atlanta, Georgia, in a town called Gainesville. And I've been here for 11 years now in practice. I grew up in this area, went to high school, college, medical school, all in Georgia, and then I did my training at Duke University for neurosurgery, my residency, and knew that this was my home, so came back here to practice where I've been here ever since, and just really enjoy what I do. I love being a surgeon. I love helping people. I love my field, and more recently, just kind of sharing that on social media and my journey and just trying to be inspirational for future healthcare workers. And yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
So
And like specifically women. I feel like you've made a path for women to realize that like this is a space for us too, healthcare as but outside of nursing. Surgeons are typically males.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think I just my passion for doing what I do, and I'm sure we'll dive into this in a minute, but my mom was always like kind of that person for me. I felt like going into this space was something where you're right, it's not a lot of females do, and she was a cop in the 90s, and even now in law enforcement women are the minority, so she was always super inspirational to me, and even though it doesn't translate to medicine, it's still the concept of women can do anything,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of message that I just love giving out and kind of showing that we can do anything that we want to do. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's actually how
totally.
I came across your page. It was like I think it was one of the videos of you scrubbing in and it was like some badass music. But it seriously was one of my favorite
Yeah,
videos because I was like, no, fuck yeah. If
yeah.
I have someone if I God forbid ever need brain surgery or anything with my spine, I really hope you're the one. But maybe you're not taking clients, but
Absolute. I would do anything for you, Lindsay.
speaking of being a woman in healthcare, have you ever dealt with misogyny on any levels, or have you seen it?
Never.
Oh, I was like, what? I was like, wow, that's actually crazy because I have.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny being in the public, working with the public, and just kind of what people think that they can say. It's truly like mind-boggling. I mean, and you've probably experienced this in nursing too, but it's just it's an environment that kind of when you're taking care of sick people that it's a stressful environment, and I think that brings out a lot of in people in good ways and in bad ways, and I think some of the things we that I enjoy about approaching that is you can really change what people think
Yeah.
about healthcare professionals and about what we do. And actually, fun fact, the reason why I came up with the name Lady Spine Doc is one of those experiences. So I just started practice, and it was probably my first month of being a surgeon, and I did this case. It was a guy that had got in an accident, broke his back really bad, and didn't get a chance to talk to the family. They weren't quite there yet before I got him to surgery. Did this really long surgery on him, went out and talked to his family, and was sitting in the conference room having this long discussion about how the surgery went, what the expected outcomes were, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the end of the whole thing, his family, one of the male family members, looked at me and said, "Okay, well, when's the doctor going to come and tell us what happened?" And I was like,
Typical. Typical. Actually,
well, see, what happened was I'm actually the doctor, and we just talked about that. And he was like truly floored that I was the surgeon. And I was a little younger, but, and he looked at me and he said, "A lady back doctor, good for you." And I was like kind of pissed off initially, but the more I thought about it, like he was deeply like proud of me. It came from a place of like he was happy and shocked and all the things. So I just remember that experience because I was just so like shocked.
Yeah.
And so when
it's like what we read about, but like you got to experience it.
Right. And so, yeah, so I decided when I developed one of my social media platforms was to use the Lady Spine Doctor. So anyway, that is the little fun fact.
You took that little jab, even if it was from a good place, which how is it?
I don't know if it's from a good place. It's just from a misogynistic place.
It is.
Right. But and things that we, aim to kind of change in some of the things that we do nowadays. And like one of the reasons why I do, social media is to kind of change those little nuggets of misogyny that lie so deep within people. And I've been in rooms where I've been talking to patients. I'm the kind of doctor that hates wearing white coats. I don't like wearing them because I don't find them comfortable. I just don't like the kind of hierarchy that I think it presents. Like I'm better than so-and-so. So I've never worn white coats. And anytime I'm in patients' rooms, usually wearing scrubs, but there have been many encounters where I've been in a room talking to family members in scrubs, clearly badge, everything on. And another healthcare professional, usually an older man, will walk in the room and then just completely start talking over me because they don't know that A, they think I'm family, I guess, or B, they don't know that I'm a physician or think that I'm the nurse.
They think you're the nurse.
And yeah,
let me just tell you right now, they think you're the nurse.
And yeah, those are fun. I did that once when I was early attending, and he knew me, like my name, that I was a neurosurgeon at the hospital, but he came in, started talking over me, and I looked at him and I was like, and he was saying, "Dr. Grunch is going to come in and talk to you." And I'm like, literally, like, what the hell is happening right now?
Here.
And I'm like, I'm Dr. Grunch. And the family members looking at him like, this is her. And he was so embarrassed. Literally the most embarrassed I've ever seen a human being ever. And it was like, it was somewhat pleasing, honestly, because I was like, yeah, like, let's change the way we think a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's just a joke that we hear all the time. I mean, my husband's a male nurse.
Yeah.
And he's had many times where the female doctor will be in the room talking and he will walk in to do whatever he was doing, passing meds, whatever he was doing. And they'll say, "Oh, the doctor's finally here." And he's like, "Oh, no. Like, don't make me that guy." And he's like, "Actually, this is the doctor who's been talking to you." Kind of same situation.
Right.
Like they've been talking to you, have introduced themselves, and it goes in one ear, not the other.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just weird.
It goes on and on and on. And, I've been in rooms where they'll be like, "Oh, hold on, the nurse is in here. I'll have to call you back." And it's just like,
You're
it's
like,
yeah.
actually, I'm the doctor. It's just interesting. Like, it's such a male-dominated field, but like you have really put your presence in it, and especially online. And like, once again, I've already said it, but I think you're changing the game for a lot of young women who want to pursue that. Even last night at dinner, the girl that came up to you, I feel like you inspired her because maybe that's something she wants to do, and watching another woman do it is like cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of younger people think that they want to do something, but you're told over and over again that you can't, or well, you shouldn't do that, hun. You should do something a little bit easier. Or if you want to be a mom, you can't certainly become a surgeon. And people get shocked when they think that I hear that, and I'm like, no, like really, if you hear it one time, you've heard it 40 times. Like when you talk about what you want to be when you grow up, you want people to believe in you.
Right.
And if you have even one negative comment, it kind of gets to you and you think about it. Well, is that right? Is that true? Am I not going to be able to have a family? Am I not going to be able to be a good mom or a good doctor? Or am I going to have to, choose one thing or the other? And I think it's important to showcase it, that, that we can do multiple things and we don't have to choose. And is it always easy? No. Is there always a perfect balance? Absolutely not. But I think that goes along with being a physician, being a lawyer, being a nurse, being a teacher. We feel pulled in so many different ways. So choosing one field because of X, Y, or Z just doesn't make sense. And I think just doing what you're passionate about and realizing that everybody has these choices is important.
Yeah. If someone is dealing with misogyny in their workplace, whether it be lateral or however, how would you say to approach it? if you have an answer.
Yeah. I mean, I take the approach as being direct. Yeah. I think it's always the best approach. I'm a direct person anyway. I hate the like passive aggressiveness or trying to
around the bush.
Yeah, I mean, it's just no point. Just address it and move on. And I think it makes you stronger for it, but explaining like why something is misogynistic and or whatever the case may be is important, so that person can address it or understand what you're talking about in the moment, maybe
where you're coming from. I also agree with like being direct in your work field anyway. In any manner is really important, and it also, like you said, it also builds confidence for you. At least it did for me when I was a new grad. I never wanted to be direct with people because I would get so scared, especially with doctors. But over time, I've learned being direct is actually the best, and it gets right to the point, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, I think that you either like. I mean, it's good to learn how to be that way. Oh my gosh, he's gonna
come
here, Butters.
Come on, Butters.
Sorry, guys. No, my dogs are always have to be the star of the show.
Said bye.
Bye, I'm out. But yeah, I think that addressing things in the moment when it happens is easy to correct, and is easy to like kind of talk about why it is instead of trying to deal with it later on, or more importantly, like kind of harbor those feelings about someone without them knowing how you feel.
Yeah. So. Yeah. How do you think teamwork works in a space like healthcare? Are you my boss or?
Absolutely not. And it kind of goes along with the whole white coat thing, right? So I grew up in sports, and I really think that team sports in childhood is so important, whether it's cheerleading or football or softball or whatever. I think it's such a good like habit for people to understand how it is to function as a team and to rely on your team, and you're only as good as your weakest link. And so building up those people that may be not as good at something and trying to incorporate their I think they're points where they're not as good, and putting them in a position where they'll succeed, and using their positive attributes as contributions to the team is really important. And so you take those concepts and you bring it into the healthcare team where you have, the doctors, but it's not just the doctor, it's the nurses, it's the people that clean the room, that bring you lunch, that carry you from CT to, the room back and forth, and the unit clerk that calls a nurse. All those people play are all components of what makes a positive patient experience. And if you have one person that is negative in that whole encounter, a lot of people only remember that. So it's so important to just kind of build people up. And that's one of the things that I really like talking about on my...
Guys, can you talk quieter? Oh, yeah, sorry. God.
But no, I mean, that's one of the things I really love talking about on my platform too, is like just the concept of teamwork. Specifically, I was giving examples of like in the hospital or in the unit setting, but that translates to my office staff, my MAs, my front office, my schedulers, my PAs, my abilities as a surgeon and taking care of a large group of people is everybody that puts their hands on the patient, and whether that be the x-ray tech or the person drawing their labs, that whole experience really is what the patient brings home and what they think is part of their healthcare journey. And I think it's important for physicians to recognize that you're not just the only person that's involved in this. Mm-hmm. And it's good just to be a team player.
Yeah. I think the last part of that is confidence comes from that too. Like when you're not a team player and you're talking down to people and you're being hateful, that it can destroy confidence. And also, you never know where someone is in their journey of their healthcare work, because there are so many people coming in, they're a new grad or they're a new resident or whatever it may be. And when you do start it off as you're superior to someone, it can really break down someone's confidence, which can directly harm a patient, actually.
Exactly. And that's one of the points I want to, hone in on, is that if you are the physician and you present yourself as the boss or the leader and you talk down to people, they're going to be intimidated. They're going to be scared to tell you things, or maybe there's something that happens with the patient that's bad, but they're like, ooh, I don't want to call their doctor. They're going to yell at me.
Yeah.
And that's so important because, like, I mean, if I don't know all the details and I don't, then something bad can happen.
Yeah.
And I think, building people up, don't making them afraid to talk to you, to report things to you. And it also builds their confidence up. And I put my trust a lot into my nurses that call me at night. I mean, they're the eyes and ears of the patient. They are the ones that know what's going on. I'm only there for probably 5 minutes of the whole 24 hours.
You admit it.
That's true. It's
So many people won't say. I'm like, okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about like why you kind of got into it, but why you decided to go into surgery?
So I was, obviously, my mom has been my kind of go-to person my whole life. She was divorced from my dad when I was young, and so she raised me as a single mom, and always looked up to her. And she used her kind of passion to go into law enforcement, and I always saw her as like, getting ready for work, like putting on her uniform and belt and gun, and I'm like, damn, this badass. Like, I want to be like her. Like, she's just so badass. So I just kind of grew up always like just admiring her and what she did, and just kind of her passion and energy. And that, I thought that I wanted to be a cop, honestly. And I was kind of a nerd, but I always had like kind of interest in science and that kind of stuff. And then in high school, going into my freshman year, I was 13, and my mom had then remarried. I had a little brother, and I remember I was trying out. I was very athletic, so into sports, into softball. Softball was a big time passion of mine. And was trying out for the varsity softball team the following morning. Went to bed that night. My mom went to work just like normal. She worked the night shift. And I remember waking up, and she was going to take me to tryouts, and my aunts were in my room. And I was like, that's weird. And she's like, your mom's been in an accident. We need to take you to the hospital. And I'm like, what? And I remember walking into Northeast Georgia Medical Center, which is where I practice now, and the neurosurgeon came out, and they said that she had a spinal cord injury, that she broke her neck, and that he was just like, she's never going to walk again. Wow. And just that, just kind of, I just remember that standing outside of, I know exactly what elevator we were at when that news was delivered. And I was just like, that's can't be true. This is like impossible. My mom is awesome, and there's no way that she's going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. So that moment, and just kind of the whole experience and all of the everything that transpired in the weeks to months after that, and her surgery and her recovery, went to the Shepherd Center rehab, and this whole journey for her in that time period was just so life-changing for me. And just being around the nurses that helped her, the doctors that helped her, the physical therapists, everybody involved in the healthcare team to take someone, and it was just really admirable. I really learned a lot from that experience about what healthcare is, how news like that can be can kind of change how you become as a person. And so that really just, I don't know, it just kind of changed me. So I looked at life differently from that moment forward, and I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to cure spinal cord injury. That's what I'm going to do, because my mom isn't going to live like this forever. And so that was my passion. So I started shadowing, actually, the surgeon that operated on her in high school, started learning about neuroscience. The Shepherd Center was just a super cool place down in Atlanta, a spinal cord injury rehab unit. And yeah, so I set my goal to being a neurosurgeon then, and here we are. So
wow, that's like a really inspiring story. I don't know if you know, but my dad had a motorcycle accident when I was in second grade.
Oh wow!
And it also changed our lives for the worse, unfortunately. But he was going to church one evening. He didn't wear a helmet. And everyone's always like, well, I'm a really good driver. I'm a
Right.
really good I'm really good on the motorcycle, but it wasn't him. It was a woman who wasn't paying attention and ran a red light and hit him. And he flew 30 feet, landed on his head, frontal lobe injury. I remember the same type of situation. Like I was in second grade, but I woke up for school. My grandma was there. I was like, that's weird. My grandma never helps me get ready. Like, that's weird. She told me that my mom was at the grocery store. I was like, no, she's not. Even at 8 years old, I was like, no, she's
Yeah.
not. That's silly. And then my mom called me and told me what happened. And when I got to go see him at the hospital, it was in the ICU. One of the most, like, I can picture it just like you can with the elevator. I can
Yeah.
picture the room, exactly what he looked like, and it was terrifying for a child. But
Yeah.
like, that's also why I'm like, oh yeah, no wonder we don't let kids come here
Right.
most of the time, because it's traumatizing. But I didn't want to be a nurse my whole life, but there was a point where I didn't know what I wanted to be, and I looked back and I was like, actually, I could do that, because those ICU nurses were so amazing, and the whole healthcare team was so amazing.
Yeah.
But I look back on that and I'm like, holy crap. I think that also pushes me to be like a good nurse to not only my patient, but the family that's there, because
Absolutely.
they make all the difference. Like the healthcare workers who are taking care of you, but when you're family, they make all the difference when they're kind, compassionate, gentle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I decided to get into that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, our experiences as we learn and develop and go through all these things, it really changes who we are. And I think a lot of healthcare workers have that kind of passion or experience that really changes them and makes them want to do what they do. And I feel like we do a better job at what we do because of those events.
Yeah.
Like you know what it's like to be on the opposite side. And so delivering that news or handling that situation, you kind of feel for them and you can be more compassionate. And I think it just makes us better providers.
Yeah.
So
Something, I'm kind of switching topics, but something I knew you were a great provider when you talked about braiding your patients' hairs after their surgeries. That's something huge. Like being an ICU nurse, I get patients all the time, and I understand not everyone has the time or whatever to braid their hair, but it makes all the difference, because I've had to shave patients' hair before, and it's like the most matted
yeah.
nest of hair, blood, anything else in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes, after a cranial surgery, we try to save as much hair as we can. And inevitably with surgery, there'll be blood, bone, tissue, all in the hair. And if you just leave it there, like somebody else has to take it out. And it's
Yeah.
already traumatizing experience for them. I think it just is something that it's just a little extra touch and caring that just makes them feel different. And also, I mean, it helps with their care, like as nurses. Trying to clean it, it's impossible. It hurts. So they're scared. Everyone's scared to touch it.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of my attendings did that in residency, and I was like, wow, that's such a nice thing to do. So I've done it ever since.
It's like the smallest thing, but it's actually such a big,
Right.
a big thing to
It
do.
is. It is.
We're jumping topics again, moving, but you said you wanted to talk about something else on this podcast. Was it your weight loss journey?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's
Talk a little
what
bit
it was.
about that.
Yeah, and just tell like people like what inspired you, or why did you want to do those things?
So I have always had, in growing up, I think probably because of what happened to my mom, just unhealthy relationship with food, and use food as kind of like this outlet for me. So in high school and college, like anytime I was stressed out, I ate, and I never really had like a boyfriend growing up. I was always just kind of myself, and I think some of it was my passion and drive for like wanting to do what I do. I didn't let anybody else in, but I was always like the little fat kid too, and the redhead, and I don't know. So I just kind of used food as an escape, and it became like an unhealthy habit of mine. And so surprisingly, as physicians, we learn nothing about nutrition and our own health, even in medical school and training. And it's shocking how little we know about nutrition, I feel like. And so anyway, I used my training as kind of like an excuse and became very unhealthy. And then I had my son, and 3 months after I had him, I herniated a disc in my back. I was already a surgeon, already practicing for years. And I was like, wow, I I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't become the patient. I know what happens when people injure their back, and something's got to change. So I read a little bit. I'm like, I'm going to have to just teach myself about it, and read some books about, like, the Obesity Code was one very scientific book that taught about our weight and how what we eat kind of transforms that. And I learned a lot from that, listened to a bunch of podcasts, and just started learning more about my body. And anyway, I used a variety of different strategies over the years just to try to get healthy, and simultaneously that's kind of translated with my social media journey. So I think a lot of my followers have seen my transformation over time, which has been kind of neat, because I've been able to share like what a lot of people struggle with, and how we do what we do. And I'm no better at it or worse at it than anybody else. And yeah, it's just been kind of a really inspiration of mine, just to, like, show people that you can be healthy, and do it in a variety of different ways. And
There's
yeah,
no like one way to do it.
there is no one way to do it.
Yeah.
I've used a variety of different things. So I started with kind of intermittent fasting and learning more about that. I even, dabbled with keto, which is really hard. Always been the mainstay with exercise incorporated into it. And then, I know we spoke a little bit yesterday, but the new medications that are out on the market, the GLP-1 medications, have been really transpiring. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Transformative.
Yeah.
Transformative for a lot of people. And I think it's just, it's such a good medication that can really help people kind of break that relationship with food that we have, that makes us feel like this passion or drive or connection to food. And for me, that's really just been a big thing of mine mentally, and that kind of helped me separate that and utilize that for about a year in my journey, and then now incorporating more, counting calories, nutrition, macros, and lifting, and all kinds of stuff. So it's been a neat journey.
I brought it up because, like you said, there's no one way to do it, but also it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. If anyone's selling you anything that it's a quick fix, it's not. It might work for a moment, but it's not going to work long term. But I also brought it up because I had a kind of bad relationship with food,
Yep.
but on the opposite scale, I was bulimic, and so I would binge eat all night long and then guilt myself over it and then go vomit in the toilet for years, because I was in modeling and other entertainment where you're constantly being like compared to other people, and like they just constantly talk about your body, and I felt like, oh, I got to get skinnier. I had like an agent tell me, I was 135 pounds at the time, and they told me, if you lose 30 pounds in a month, we'll sign you.
Oh my
100
God.
pounds at 6 feet tall. Like, me looking back now to my 19-year-old self, I'm like, girl, absolutely not. Even if you could get to that, like, you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
But it took me years to like realize it's okay to eat. It's okay to eat bad foods, and I don't think there are like bad foods anymore, but at the time I thought that there would be bad foods.
Right.
It's okay to exercise and do these things. Like, it doesn't mean you're gonna look manly. That was one thing my agent would tell me, like, well, if you lift weights, you're gonna look manly. Just all this stuff that is not correct information that they just feed young women. And I feel like you can be on both sides of it and come out of it.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people have that. And I think the point that you brought up is well made, that it's really like, it's not something that you can do overnight. There's no way. And it really has to be like a lifestyle change. It's not something you can do in 30 days or, buy some diet plan or some shake plan and do
Some
it.
pill.
Correct. It has to be something that you dedicate, like, this is going to be a change that I make, and there's just no going back. And that's where you see the real transformation in being able to maintain that.
Yeah.
So.
It's like a mental game too. Like,
Yeah.
don't like beat yourself up in your head all day, every day, based on food. Like, it's not going to make it any better.
Yeah, and I'm still victim of doing that.
Me too.
but,
Me
yeah.
too. It's easier to preach it than like take my own advice, but I still have days where I'll like be like, okay, how many calories was that? And then I have to check myself and be like, no, this is what you've been working against.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's okay to have pizza and
Right.
anything
Right. Yep. In moderation.
in moderation.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
There was something, man, I'm so annoyed that on my iPad, Hi.
Hi.
If you guys are
Hi.
watching on YouTube, this is Pancake.
Hi, Pancake. This is
Pancake and Butters.
my older dog, Pancake. She's 12, and she enjoys snuggles and trying to destruct all of the things that Lindsay is.
That's okay. She's like, no, I'm staying here actually.
Our next guest, tell us your name. My name.
She's like burped in the mic. Good job.
I'm dead.
Is there anything else you wanted to tell people about you, or anything that happened in your life, maybe in your childhood, that really transformed who you are? I know that your mom's accident was a big piece of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that surrounding yourself with people that will make you a better person is really important to kind of bettering yourself and accomplishing your goals.
Yeah.
And I think it starts in childhood, and just realizing that people that make you a better person is who you need to surround yourself around. And I think we easily want to like be people pleasers and make everybody happy and succumb to peer pressures, and all of those things are good in some ways, but they can also be bad if you get yourself involved in the wrong crowd. And I think it's important to realize that not everybody's going to like you. We both have learned that along the way, particularly on this social media journey. But
yeah.
it's just important to stay true to yourself, what you want to do with your life, and just keeping that focus. Because if you succumb to those things, I mean, it's only going to bring you down. Mm-hmm. And I think just realizing that, putting yourself number one, and making sure you surround yourself with positivity and people that are going to help you accomplish that goal early on is very important. And if they don't, it's okay. I mean, not everybody has to like you. Not everybody has to support you and what you want to do. But as long as you stay true to yourself and stay motivated to do that, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And
building up your self-worth and your own self-respect, I feel like that's number one, because then you can deal with who cares if someone doesn't like me.
Exactly.
I like me.
Exactly. And I think it's so hard, particularly as women. I think we let people judge us too much, and we take what they say to heart.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we do that. I still do that to this day. And it's a hard habit to change, but I think the more you learn to ignore those things, the better off you'll be. And happier you'll be, which is important.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's a short and sweet podcast. That's all I've really got for you. Okay. I'm just thankful that you said yes to this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And thank you for coming all the way to Atlanta.
Anytime.
I feel so honored to have you at my home. So,
absolutely.
Yes.
Where can everyone find you?
So you guys can find me. I'm on almost every social media platform on Lady Spine Doc, and TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Threads, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those things. So I just talk a lot about my journey, positivity in medicine, teamwork, which I think is super important. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, I'll have her links to her socials in the description. But thank you guys so much. Until next time, bye.
Bye.